Cybertruck has been out for over a year, and now we've got some data and some opinions. Is it a massive failure? Are the lines idle? Will no one ever buy one again? And for that matter, the Model Y refresh that Juniper. Did it live up to the hype? Did it deliver on expectations? Did we get what we expected? And will people even buy it? We're going to discuss that and a whole lot more with my buddy Justin, the bearded Tesla guy. You can tell because he's got a beard and he is a Tesla guy. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Justin, so great to have you on. Very exciting times. You are one of the very first people I know. You're probably the first person I know personally to have gotten a Cybertruck. I guess I know Kyle Connor. I think he got his a few days before you, but it might have been even after. It was right at this. How many days had they been out when you got yours?
About 90 days. I got it at the end of March. There certainly are a number of people got them before me, but they were very hard to get. And I just happened to get lucky in circumstance that I got mine anyways, as early as I did.
And I'll tell you, Justin gave it the early stress test. He had the opportunity, the luxury, the grace, the gift of being able to drive someone else's Cybertruck cross country. Was that EVject?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was a charity event in Celebration, Florida, Orlando area, and that truck needed to be delivered from Utah to Orlando, about 2,400 miles. And the delivery company, something happened with scheduling, and it was going to be a problem. So I said, "Hey, sure, I'd be happy to, come pick it up, drive it. It'd be good content for a road trip, anyways. Let's make this happen." And while I was in town, last day of the month of March, last day of the quarter, there were two Cybertrucks at that local store that financing fell through or something. And they were feverishly trying to get those out the door before the end of the evening. And I just sat there
I was
until
following Justin on X when this adventure happened. I was already following him for the Cybertruck content, and then he tweets out, he posts saying, I'm turning around. I'm going back to Salt Lake. I think I might somebody's delivery fell through." And then next thing you know, he's got a picture of it. And now there's a new problem. He has to get it back to Florida, and he already has a Cybertruck. So Justin did the first ever cross-country Cybertruck towing a Cybertruck. And what an adventure that was. We won't get into it. We've covered it before, and it's all on your channel. That was wild. I was watching it. I was keeping tabs on you. So let's talk about the Cybertruck. It's a failure, right?
Well, that's certainly what the headlines would suggest. And I think it's fair to say that there are some shortfalls or some things that didn't quite deliver. I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. What I do think is the wrong take is that it's somehow inherently a failed product. Tesla's pretty quick to adapt, react, and take action. And I think here, more than a year and a half, actually, since they started customer deliveries, I think product would stop selling if it was indeed a failure. I think, though, here's the problem. Number one, they blew out Foundation Series builds for as long as possible. And I don't disagree from a business perspective, but this $100,000 minimum price, 20, 30,000 of these trucks for this limited edition, those are not tax credit eligible. Shortly after, they finally rolled out the non-Foundation Series. And shortly after that, guess what? Point of sale tax credit is available for the base all-wheel drive. Once you have a $7,500 tax credit at point of sale, you're now talking $72,500 versus $100,000 for what most consumers will see. Hey, it's the same truck. That's $27,500 difference for the same performance. There are some differences in the options and things, but that makes it very hard to sell a $100,000 truck when you've got the same essentially truck for $72,500 right next to it. And that is why we saw this inventory across the country. And it painted a pretty bad picture.
Now, I would say that there are ways in which the Cybertruck fell short. It is heavier than I would like. It is the range is less than I think a lot of people would like, especially the fact that there is no 500-mile option, that the double pack option. But there are a lot of ways in which it over delivered on its promises. One would be, to me, the quality of the ride itself. It's a dream. It floats on a cloud and turns on a dime. The rear steering, I think, is over delivered. Can you give other examples of ways in which the truck exceeds the expectations we were given at the unveiling?
Yeah, I think the first thing most people will say, the I guess the Tesla bulls, so to speak, will say is, "Hey, the all-wheel drive was announced at 300 miles. It actually does 325 miles of range, so it actually exceeded." Now that's almost double the price, but it certainly does give you good range for that tier, and that range is real. I just recently did a range test at 30,000 miles or something, and I still did 297 miles at 70 miles an hour. My truck is rated at 314, so 21 miles less than brand new on the sticker EPA rated range. This is very different than what we had in 2020. Rated range versus reality. Things have changed so much. The other thing, 4680, we had our first look at the performance of the 4680 next generation cell with the all-wheel drive Model Y, and it left a lot to be desired. There was a lot of concern. What does that translate to for Cybertruck? Well, what we find out is it doesn't translate at all, because this thing charges fast. Regardless of what people will say, it does charge fast. I can charge just as fast between charging stops in my Cybertruck as I can in our Model Y, but I do it with two less charging stops over 1,000 miles.
Mm.
So rather than, say, seven quick charging stops for 25 minutes or so, I do five. That's a big difference. And that's with this new cell that somehow is not as good. We also just unlocked 325 kilowatt charging. And guess what? We've been teased too many times at this point, 500 kilowatt charge rate from Cybertruck. And once we start getting that hardware in place to be able to charge, I think that is going to be the next huge jump. You mentioned something about the suspension, and I will die on this hill. There is no better, softer, smoother, more adaptive, and capable suspension in the truck market than what is in that Cybertruck. And I know this sounds very Tesla bro talk, but I am telling you, you have to experience the ride on this thing. I remember graciously getting your approval to sit in the back of the truck while we off-roaded in Ocala, and I wanted to give you an experience, so I just kind of hammered. We went hard, and even then, it's just the way that the suspension adapts to the environment it's in and the customization you have access to, what you want to turn on and off. It's unparalleled, and you just have to experience it for yourself, because it's just talk until you feel it.
So I've been in some very expensive, very nice trucks. I'll tell you, 50, 60, $70,000 traditional pickups drive okay. The 80 to $100,000 pickups, you're going to start to get into some feel that's more like a Cadillac. But then I got in the Ford Lightning, and it felt better than any truck I'd ever experienced. And the Cybertruck is not even in the same league. It is so much better. It is so ridiculous. It's got the air suspension. It's tight. It's soft when it needs to be, and fantastic otherwise. So the Cybertruck, is it a failure? I would say we need to get the price down.
Yes.
That is the obstacle at this point. If the price was lower, I believe, and I've had discussions with a number of people on this who would agree, we are past peak hate. The Cybertruck was definitely a target for one finger salutes. In my overnight test drive, I managed to collect a few of those, even in my small town that voted very red. I got plenty of attention of the variety I didn't necessarily care for. One lady rolled her window down, yelled boo. Doesn't scare me. I know she's probably not a real ghost, but that's still unpleasant, and people don't like that. The more of them that get on the road, the less likely that is to happen. So let's talk about the Model Y. We knew it was getting a refresh. Some would argue it didn't need one. It was the newer vehicle already. It was the best selling vehicle in the world. Why mess with a good thing? Did it deliver? Did Tesla deliver on the promise to update the Model Y in ways that you think are good?
Yes, I
Yes.
argue they it was solid, solid. Some people point to we were expecting 800 volt, we were expecting faster charging, we were expecting more range, we were expecting all these things, which isn't unreasonable to expect. However, if you want four-wheel steer, you want an air suspension, you want 350 kilowatt charging, that's available. Porsche makes it. It's $100,000. But this car is the best selling car of any type, gas, hybrid, electric, in the world 2 years in a row. And they have no intention of steering away from that formula. And that formula in today's speak is 250 kilowatt charge rate. It is 10 to 80% in 20
10,
minutes or something,
yeah,
15 or 20
15.
minutes. And it continues to deliver on what we've had in the past, but in a much more refined package that gives you some new features, right? So they a few things went away, but we now have a softer suspension. We have finally a suspension worth having in the Model Y. It is smooth, it is soft, and it's still nimble enough that you can have some fun with it. The cooled seats in 2025 is too much of a demand to not have. And it's here. We now have the rear screen, which I really love as a parent, but watching Robotaxi coming, I think there's a bigger reason for that rear screen, which is kind of cool to think about. And the other interior improvements, it's all sound. This thing is quieter, smoother, and just a much more refined ride. And I love personally the light bar on front that gives it that kind of next generation look that Tesla seems to be going for.
Hmm. Well, I will tell you on any viewer of my channel who watched any number of videos knew not to expect 800-volt architecture, knew not to expect 48-volt, any of that, or the rear steer, or there were a lot of things that people said, well, I really want that. I'm like, you really want 48-volt? Why? What difference does it make to your experience? Do you really need the car to be 9 pounds lighter in copper? I guess. But we knew those weren't coming because it needs to share parts in common with the Model 3. And they are selling these like crazy. I mean, if you come to our big event in Michigan coming up, that's just a picture of John there, but Michigan meetup, Muskegon, June 20th and 21st, you will see an apocalypse of Cybertruck. You will see a quizzing of Ys. You will see a menage of threes. They will all be there. And so will Justin and I. So will Sandy Monroe and Dr. Know It All and all kinds of great folks. Get tickets now, teslamichigan.org. That is going to be a lot of fun. We'll see old friends and make new friends. Dirty Tesla will be there. The Teslatinos. We will have the entire Arctic crew if we can get Gary. I don't know if Gary's coming, but my face was in those pictures in that expedition.
You are
You
still there, by the way. I hope you're doing all right. Hope there was a cold winter.
didn't feel that bad, if I'm being honest. So you've got the difference between the Model 3 and the refreshed Model 3, I would argue, was tremendous. I
Yes.
would I would pick a rear-wheel drive new Model 3 over any version of the old Model 3 because the ride is better, the range is better, and like you were saying on the Cybertruck, the ranges that are posted now are real ranges. I had a chance to pick up a Model 3 rear-wheel drive for an overnight test drive, and I had him juice it to 100, and I drove the heck out of this thing all as much as I could while still getting some sleep. And I returned it with 37% or something ridiculous because I just couldn't get through the battery. So these are fantastic. And what I told people to expect on the Model Y is the same. You're going to get the same treatment. Do you think, with the exception of the fact that the lines were down for retooling, do you think this will either be in the top two this year or the top one or retake its spot next year based on the price point, the the quality, all that?
A very good question. And I think that I think the economy is the big outlier here. Will the economy support a $37,500 after tax credit car, which is below the average new car price? Or will there be too much pressure on consumers financially to step into a new car? If the economy is not too hard on them, I think that it does have a chance, even with the shutdown, to make it another number one year, three in a row. A three-peat would be amazing, but I think that there are a ton of headwinds economically that are going to be in the way of luxuries, right? That we don't have to have in our lives. And I think that the Model Y is no exception to that. I think that Robotaxi coming next month is going to blow people away, and they're going to realize that, wait a minute, that one there on the lot that can do that too. And I think that's going to just continue to be a demand driver for Tesla.
So I think, in summary of this whole conversation we've had, we talked about the Cybertruck. Is it a failure? I think our conclusion was no. We're not mad. We're just disappointed. We'd like it to be a little more affordable. And there's a lot of little things we'd like it to be a little more. I'd like a little more range or whatever it might be. I've yet to hear someone say, well, I'd like the sound to be a little louder. Have not heard that. I'm sure that person exists, but they are mistaken. And then for the Model Y, did they deliver? I'd say yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. If you haven't, by the way, you can now get overnight test drives of the Model Y. And in some cases,
48 hours.
for some folks, you can get a 48-hour test drive. Um, I'll tell you, if they come out with a 7-seat version, which they've said they will, that could persuade me if the stars align. We'll see if they do. So, guys, in the comments, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Leave it. And do me a favor, check if you're still subscribed. Some people have been unsubscribed, unbeknownst to them. And do the same while you're over at Justin's channel, because he doesn't say that often enough. And I'm saying it for him. If you think you're subscribed, double check, because YouTube just does that. I don't know why. It's very frustrating. Everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, on the next one.